Hey everyone, welcome to the Fin Factor. We're doing a live pre-shoot for episode number 76. I, of course, Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
And Aaron's got the laptop out, and he is ready to take all of your comments and questions and anything else. So there is that. Now there's a lot of things going on, like newsworthy wise. So some of it hockey, some of it not really hockey. I don't know if you wanted to just get that out of the way right off the hop here.
Condolences to Kobe Bryant.
So what Aaron's trying to say with his microphone off is condolences to Kobe Bryant, and I believe is it Giannis? I don't know how to pronounce the name.
13-year-old daughter.
Yeah, 13-year-old
passed
daughter.
away. It's very sad, very tragic. I mean, he's 41 years old.
That's
not very old at all.
I was actually surprised to hear that he was older than me for some reason. I was surprised to hear. I don't know why.
He started at 17 in the NBA when we were in high school.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, a helicopter crash. I think it was in Southern California. Was that what the news said?
Yeah. On his way to his daughter's, I think, basketball camp.
Yes, and there was a teammate of the daughter's that was there as well, and the parents of that teammate were.
And a college coach, too.
There you go. Yeah,
there's with his family.
Yeah, so
it's tragic.
Quite a few people lost in that tragedy this morning, I guess it was. Yeah, We were at the Sportsplex actually doing a practice with our 6 and 8U Venom roller hockey kids, and we were done with that practice, and all of a sudden people were checking their phones going like, what is going on, you know? So yeah, it was just kind of weird hearing that news, just kind of like, all of a sudden like a helicopter crash with a former NBA player, just kind of like, who would have thought, So kind of took everybody by surprise. So again, condolences to the families and the fans, LA Laker fans and people who knew him closer. So yeah, kind of a weird way to start off the show, but yeah, there you go. Anything that is in the comments there?
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to jump right into it.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Anthony Sanchez, first comment. Hurdle should have been the All-Star MVP, another example of East Coast bias. I agree wholeheartedly. You want to say something?
The only reason I'm going to disagree is because they put the names out before he scored the game-winning goal. So they had four people to choose from on the Twitter thing. So then they had 4 players to choose from for
It wasn't by the writers. It was by
vote, apparently. Yeah.
That's just silly.
That's the only reason I think. If they had Hurdle's name in there, definitely he would have won. But he wasn't placed in the Twitter poll, and that Twitter poll went up before he had scored the game winner. They had Draisaitl in for the Pacific's entry. So
that's so dumb.
I agree with you. But
that's so dumb.
Unfortunately, it's East Coast bias maybe for the voting, the fans. Maybe there's more East Coast fans that care and would have thrown a vote in.
Fans in general, they're not going to know Hurdle's name very well.
That too, exactly.
They're going to know him after this weekend.
Yeah.
It's fantastic for him. I thought he did a great job.
For sure.
Especially the Justin Bieber face. Did you see that?
Yes,
during the shootout?
It's very good. For those of you who didn't know, that one, Bieber had a bet with Jordan Binnington about 1 in 10 shootout. If he makes 1 in 10, Binnington would, I don't think, dye his hair as a certain color, like a platinum gold, or I forget what it was, but he would dye his hair, and then I guess Bieber would donate some money to charity. Yeah, if he didn't, or something to that effect. Yeah, so he came out with the Bieber mask.
They haven't done it yet.
No, they haven't. No. But that was Hurdle's thing, was he put the Bieber mask on to try to get the goal.
Yeah, they're in St. Louis for the All-Star game and the festivities, so the crowd went crazy for it. It was brilliant. I thought it was
absolutely funny. Yeah, it was great.
All right, is anybody concerned that our Sharks team will look different in a few weeks? Concerned, no. I'm expecting it to look different in a few weeks, and I'm hoping it looks different. I was in the boat. Well, we did our show 2 weeks ago now. We missed last week. They did. Then it's going to be time to sell, which I think they're gearing up to do now. So I'm expecting a bunch of guys to get moved and hopefully get some assets and or draft picks coming back this way.
Yeah.
So, the team's going to look different. The trade deadline is on Monday, the 27th of February. So, I'm sorry, I'm looking at January. 24th, Monday the 24th. So, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks from now.
Yeah.
4 weeks from tomorrow is going to be the deadline. So, we're going to see a lot of stuff moving. And I think the trade deadline's kind of changed. It's kind of evolved over the years. It used to be like the trade deadline day was crazy. Now it's kind of spread out a little bit more. Like, I think there's stuff that gets done earlier.
Some teams are trying to get their foot in the door in terms of which players they're grabbing and get them ready to go for the postseason play and everything else.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see some stuff happening in 2 weeks or so. And then 2 and 3 weeks, it's going to really pick up. And then the trade deadline always always has some crazy stuff come in.
Little
last
frenzy
minute,
at the end.
But yeah, that's about it. So yes, it's going to be a lot different.
Well, and you know what's funny is, so again, I was in the camp that, the Sharks will be a playoff team. I said that, and then Logan Couture went down. So that for me was kind of like, okay, hold on, pump the brakes.
Yeah.
I was under the assumption that we would have Logan Couture in the lineup still, and I think that did contribute quite a bit to us losing those last handful of games there. I think when you're missing your best centerman, your best forward, really, because he does everything. He plays power play, PK, and first line essentially. So I think with him out of the lineup, it's just too much for this team to deal with. So that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back in my mind. So yes, 0-for-6 on points in the last week that we were there. So yeah, it does look like that we're going to be sellers. Now this to me is actually, I don't know, I'm kind of upbeat and kind of excited about this, and I'll tell you why. This might be the first time in a long time, or ever maybe, that we see a team kind of in rebuild mode, because we haven't really seen a rebuild. We've seen retooling, right? We've seen refresh, we've seen everything. We've not seen rebuild. So this could be a really exciting time, even though we're in the dumps right now. That's okay.
I still don't think it's going to be a complete rebuild where they're going to sell off everybody. I think there's
a core, and it'll
still
the core.
I think it'll still be kind of considered a retooling.
Right. It'll be, they'll have the same core, but I think this is the closest thing maybe that we will have seen to a rebuild. So really interesting times, really exciting, I think, to see what's going to happen, the shakeup, who's going to get moved, and what we're going to get back in terms of prospects or draft picks. It's an exciting time. So yeah.
Some rumors that LeBanc wants to be traded. Not sure that's true. Don't read any trade rumor stuff. It's all it's awful stuff. It's garbage on the internet. So I wouldn't even go off of that.
Yeah, anything that's like traderumors.com, whatever, any of that stuff, they throw as many random rumors on the wall as they possibly can, and then see if something sticks. And if it does happen, then they get to go back and point to it later and say, "Hey, see, we said so," right? So a lot of those where they say, "Oh, it's rumored that he wants to leave," or whatever the case. A lot of that is just a bunch of garbage. People are just saying anything and everything, and if one of them happens to come true, then they get to point back to it later. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, a lot of stuff about trades. There's also a different question here about getting Gallant as the coach. I lost where it was. Angelo Nunez. Anyone think we could be in for Gallant as our coach? I don't think. I'm still in the boat that Bugner is going to be coaching through the end of this year. They're not going to do anything now.
Yeah.
They'll probably reevaluate this summer and decide if they want to give Bugner the job officially, or go after somebody else. I don't know about Gallant. I think that'd be really weird, just swapping like that.
Super weird.
So I mean, it's weird enough. It is with DeBoer in Vegas, but I think they're going to kind of look at their options, and I don't think Bugner's the answer. I also don't think, from what it sounded like, Mike Ricci, Nabokov, maybe Nabokov will stay, but I don't think Mike Ricci really wants to coach. He made a comment a couple weeks ago saying yeah, I'm not going to say no when they ask me to be the assistant coach, instead of, I think he was down on Barracuda, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think he was really ready or wanting to be the NHL coach yet, or assistant coach. I think he kind of liked the gig at Barracuda, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's just kind of like, yeah, get somebody else in here. So maybe the assistants will change, maybe the whole coaching staff, who knows?
Yeah, no, for me, I'm a believer in Bugner, to be honest with you. I think he's done a pretty good job of getting the team to play better defensively, and that's exactly what they needed to do. Now the offense has dried up a little bit, okay, but the big problem in my eyes was that we were allowing way too many good chances against our goaltenders, and that's not saying anything that our goaltenders are phenomenal. They're not. They're good, average, decent goaltenders. They're not phenomenal. And I know a lot of guys are going to say, no, look at the stats. They're not average. When you've got a team in front of you that's not playing well defensively, you're asking them to just score goals on your goaltender. I don't really care who the goalie is. Could be Carey Price. Could be Martin Jones. Could be Lundqvist. Doesn't matter. If you're allowing tons of opportunities to get the puck on net, and they're cross creasers, things where the goalie has to stretch, I can't blame the goalie for those types of goals. The defense needs to do a much better job. And in the last last couple of weeks, I guess, Bugner had done a pretty good job of getting them back into playing solid defensively, and I think they did that. The only problem was the offense kind of dried up, right?
Exactly.
So, those games where we're losing.
Goes hand in hand with Couture going out, right?
Exactly, right? So it's, you get Couture back in there. Okay, he's also one of your better defensive players as well, so the defense maybe looks even that much better.
But he's your leading scorer.
And he's your leading goal scorer on top of that. So, you losing him, it's a huge deal for this team on both fronts. So, again, I'm a believer in Bugner. Now, is Gallant a guy that's in the running? Yeah, any coach right now, they're definitely taking a look at every single coach that's available.
That's another one.
Yep,
that's
exactly.
Not in a job right now.
Doug Wilson is not going to, dismiss any coaches just because. He's going to look at every single option that's available and figure out what's the best option for this team going forward. And if that's Bugner, if he likes the way that Bugner has the structure set up and he likes the defensive mindset, and maybe that's something that, they go into the draft and they go in making trades and whatnot at the draft or for this trade deadline, the prospects that they bring in, maybe they bring in certain players that fit that scheme. That'd be interesting to see, as opposed to a coach like Gallant or Laviolette. Maybe they have a different style of play that they ask of their players, and they would have different players come in based off of that. Who knows? So it'll be interesting to see. But, yeah, I think right now Doug Wilson's looking at all options in terms of coaching, and yes, Gallant I think is very much in that mix.
Lundy, thanks for the $1.99. Are 12 or 19, Marlowe or Thornton being traded to win a cup? I think it's up to them. Marlowe does not have a no trade clause, but Thornton has a no movement clause, if I remember correctly, which is even more powerful than a no trade clause. But I think Doug Wilson's just going to approach them and say, hey, here's what I got. There's probably some teams that are interested in adding you as a depth player.
Yeah.
Would you be interested? If so, we'd love to have you back maybe next year. Who knows? Maybe not Thornton. But I'm sure he's going to just, ask them if they would want to be traded. Thornton's always said that San Jose has been his home, but got to chase that cup. I think when I was talking about this, I forgot. I don't think it was you, but I was talking with somebody about it. It would be great, I think, if he got traded to Colorado. I think it would be a fantastic fit for him as a third-line center. Or Boston. Imagine him going back to Boston to win a cup.
And
how cool would that be?
And I'm looking for this right now. I'm flipping through my phone right now because I believe it was Sheng Peng who had a quote from Joe Thornton. Basically, somebody had asked him if he was interested in maybe moving, going to a different team, that kind of thing, and he had reiterated, and I can't find it here, I'm sorry. Thornton says he believes the Sharks can still make a run, says he hasn't thought about next year or going to another team to chase the cup. Repeated again, I'm a Shark. So, it was worth noting, however, that Thornton did not rule out a move, so we'll see where the Sharks are closer to the deadline. That was from Sheng Peng. If you're not following him, he's a very good writer.
Last week?
That was, I believe, 6 hours ago.
Oh, today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, very recently, yes, of course. So, that was something that Sheng Peng had talked to Joe about, apparently, and tweeted out today. So, I'm not sure. I think he's saying the right things, that a leader in that locker room would say. We're not done yet, right? He's saying the right things there. If it came down to a push came to shove, I would hope that he would accept a trade to go anywhere else if the Sharks are not going to be in the playoffs, because whether he wants to come back or not, and I've said this before on the show, I feel that Joe Thornton is going to want to play one more year. I don't know that he should, and I don't know that they'll let him, but he's repeated time and time again, I'm a Shark, and Doug Wilson has said time and time again, there's always a spot on this team for Joe Thornton, whether that's where he's being a player or after he's done playing the game, there will be a place in San Jose for Joe Thornton, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that he is a Shark. Yes, absolutely. We may have him be rented to another team. Now I've heard people saying Boston, right, for the obvious reasons. Him starting his career in Boston. I actually heard from someone today who's kind of close to players in general, and I'm not saying this is gospel by any means, and I'm not even saying this is an inside track. I'm not saying you should come back to us for any sort of inside information, because I'm just trying to figure out if this is going to be correct or not. So I'm just going to put it on record so that if it does happen, I can go back and say, okay, this guy was actually sort of reliable then. And if it doesn't, I can go back and say, nah, he's full of it, not have to listen to it anymore. But what he told me was Jumbo to Boston for a second.
That's high.
That's very high. And that's why I'm going, huh? Now, I understand if he's kind of in the mix with players in the league, okay? And I'm not going to say any names because it's somebody that I happen to know and I don't want to put names out.
1-for-1 trade. I could see maybe if there's other pieces involved, but
That's,
1-for-1 seems high.
I agree with you. I 100% agree. And that's why I'm saying it is because I want it on record so that if it does happen, okay, cool. I know I can go back to this guy if he tells me something later on, then I know. But I personally, I don't see that happening. So, like I said, I'm not saying it's inside information or anything like that. I just want to put it on record so that if it does happen, I go, okay, do is right. All right. But anyway.
Zach Croft, Sharks need draft picks. Follow-up question. I like this question. Would you rather have draft picks or prospects from a team? I think it depends. Depends on who the prospect is,
of course,
obviously.
yeah.
The good thing about a prospect is you have a little bit more body of knowledge of how they're performing or what they're going to do versus a draft pick, which could be used on anyone, really. So you're relying more on your scouting staff. Depends on what round it is. Depends on a lot of different things, I guess. Yeah. So hard to answer that just black and white of, I'd rather have the draft or the draft pick. Or
put it this way, though.
Prospect.
Would you rather make a trade and say, cool, I'll take a 6th-round draft pick? Or would you rather make a trade for a very young, unproven Kevin LeBanc? Because that's essentially what the question is, right?
Yeah.
I would take LeBanc over a 6th.
I mean, right now the problem is the Sharks have 49 contracts. They have room for one more contract.
Right.
So I
think trade people.
They need to move some people for picks. Just kind of the numbers game, but I wouldn't be opposed to prospects, especially a high-end prospect that maybe that team is just too deep and they don't have room for him to come up, and it's a chance for him to move on up into the lineup. Maybe even right away. The Sharks would probably play if they're going to move a bunch of people out of here. They're going to have to put some people in so they can see what they got.
Whatever forward prospect you get from another team has got to be a guy that steps in to the NHL. He can't be a guy that plays in the AHL, because the guys that we have in the AHL right now, they've shown that they can't play in the NHL. So if you want to get a guy who's going to help your team out, you can't have him help your team in a few years, because the guys you have right now aren't ready to help this team right now. So then that begs the question, if the prospect is that good, who do we have that we can give up that we would be able to get that prospect? Because I don't think, a Brendan Dillon is the lock. He's like our top piece. I don't think a Brendan Dillon is going to land you a top prospect in any organization, right? Even if it means that...
Depends on how many teams are going after him.
Maybe,
the market
but
price, essentially.
Maybe, but I just don't see it.
They get 3 offers from the team. Hey, they're offering, Douglas is like, they're offering this, they're offering that.
Yeah.
Okay, what else could you do for me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll offer this. Okay, then you'll go to the other teams. I'm getting this. Okay, how high do you want to go for this?
Yeah. I still don't. I think that you're talking draft picks or other prospects. If it's one of their top prospects, I don't see that happening.
I'm not saying an NHL player.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're offering a 6th round or a 4th round pick.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll give you our 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll give you this prospect and our 4th round pick.
Right.
Ooh, that's
Right.
Who knows? This is interesting because a lot of chatter going on about this. This is from Anthony Sanchez from earlier. Doug should move Couture in the offseason.
Oh.
I really think he is not captain material and has too many lows, which affects the team performance and confidence. And then someone said, I agree. And then there was some more.
I'm going to keep making this face.
Couture is this is from Anthony again. Couture has a well-known loner attitude among the locker room and isn't a player that provides positive leadership. How do you know that, though?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not in that locker room.
Yeah.
I thought there was one more in here. But go ahead.
I don't buy that. That he should be traded. I'm not feeling that at all. Now, if you think that he's not captain material, I feel how did he get the captaincy? First of all,
well, when they drafted him, he was drafted as a player that was going to eventually be captain. So he's kind of had the pedigree, and the Sharks organization has always thought of him as going to be the captain someday.
Right, but when you talk about how he became the captain, okay, doesn't they go through Pavelski got voted in by the players? Did they go through that same process?
I don't think they did.
Okay.
I think they just named him captain.
Okay, so then that was a vote of confidence by the coaching staff, I'm assuming. Okay, so the coaching staff and the players, regardless of who named him captain, those guys know him very well. And they know what his mannerisms are in the locker room. They know if he's a leader type, if he's the guy that's going to get people motivated to get out there and go. They would not have picked the captain if there was a well-known loner attitude that was toxic in the locker room, right? So I'm not sure how much I buy into that. That might be well-known among people on social media or Facebook, people who aren't really in the know. And by well-known, I mean they just kind of think that based on his mannerisms, maybe post-games or whatever else. So I'm not really buying into that. It's kind of one of those NHL rumor things where you just throw that on and see what sticks kind of thing. To me, I'm not buying that. Now, again, for me, Logan, and from a skill set standpoint, he's everything you want in a hockey player. I mean, he plays PK, power play. He's good 5-on-5. He's responsible in every zone. I don't know. I think he's the type of guy that you want on this team. Now, again, for me, if you're going to trade players, you're not going to trade guys right now. You're not going to trade anybody that's not going to be a UFA. They already said they want to keep their core together. I mean, the captain is part of your core, so I think that they're going to keep all those guys. The Burns, Carlson, Couture, Hurdle, Kane. All those guys are going to stay. LeBanc is the one that I'm not sure about, but I think that the core is still going to be there, and I don't think that any of them really need to be moved. I know a lot of people aren't very high on Erik Karlsson. Trust me, he's staying. They're not going to unload him. They just gave him a contract. I could see Brent Burns getting moved for all the right reasons, not because we think he sucks or whatever else. He's not good defensively, just because it makes sense, like we talked about before. There's a redundancy on the blue line for high-end offensive talent. It could make sense to give him a fresh start somewhere else and bring in the pieces that are actually going to help your team. The more and more I think about that, actually, the more that one makes sense from a business standpoint. Again, I would hate to see Burnsy go, but from a business standpoint, that makes the absolute most sense for kickstarting your team for the next season at least. You're gonna get.
You think the trade deadline he can get moved?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How many teams are out there looking for a Brent Burns right now that are solid defensively, but they don't have the firepower, and they have a good guy in the wings? That is where you get your high-end blue chip prospect.
Sure. Yeah.
That's where you get your blue chip prospect, not from a Brendan Dillon. You get him from a Brent Burns trade. You get that guy, he steps into the NHL immediately, makes a big impact. He's a solid forward. He's young. That's the type of thing you're going to get for a Brent Burns on top of a draft pick or whatever else. That one, again, makes more sense to me, and it solidifies your roster more, I think, than if you were to just trade off your UFAs. So that one I could definitely see as a guy who's not 1 year left on his contract that could bring in a big haul and help this team right now. Beyond that, I'm not feeling Couture. I'm definitely not feeling moving Hurdle. He's blossomed into quite the player. Timo is kind of a weird one for me. I like Timo, but he had an up season, then he had a down season. You just don't know if he's kind of in between there or if he's on the high end and just had a bad season or what the case is.
Yeah.
So there's I don't know.
I was expecting more out of Timo, and he's just not. He's good, but he's not consistent.
I don't think that you're going to see anybody get moved who's not going to be UFA this season. I'll just leave it at that.
Say that again?
I don't think you're going to see anybody get moved who is not going to be a UFA at the end of the season.
The price would be higher, and I don't think teams would want to pay for it.
For what?
Everybody's movable. It's just the question of price.
Potentially, yeah.
That's my point.
Potentially.
Yeah. Zach had a good one in here. Do you think the Sharks will be a better team coming off the bye week or worse? I think they're going to be the same. I don't think much is going to change because, sure, they got rest, but so did the other teams.
Yeah.
So it all washes out.
And Hurdle's Couture's still gone.
Right, he's out for another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
3 to 4 weeks. So, yeah.
I mean, I hope they do. I hope they come out of it and they look good. Now, does that mean that they're going to go on a nice run and they're going to rethink having to sell and try to make playoffs? Maybe. Who knows? But just the way things are going right now and the fact that your captain and, again, your best forward is out, it doesn't look good. And I was really thinking that the blue line was going to they have this season. I think I had higher hopes for Brent Burns. His numbers don't look very good. Erik Karlsson, I think, has been doing a pretty good job in terms of making those passes and getting those chances. I think he's generated a lot of chances. I just think that the forwards and his defensive partner, I don't think they've been bearing him. I think he's been setting him up pretty well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think they're going to do like Aaron here. I don't think they're going to do much better. I think it's probably going to be, same.
Yeah.
But
I don't
we'll
think
see.
they're going to go on this miraculous run
Yeah.
and make the playoffs and do some damage. I think the season's done. I think they need to call it what it is and get as many pieces as they can for the next year, and maybe even play some younger guys to see where they are in their career in a way.
Yeah. No, I think at the start of the season, I kind of felt like, okay, this isn't as good of a team. They're not as deep, but we still have enough to get to the playoffs, and it just never kind of came to fruition, right? We noticed their trajectory. It wasn't ramping up. It was just, they were just not doing well at all. They were below like their ability, where they should be, and they've kind of stayed underneath that, and we're just waiting for that moment where they kind of, like you said, market correction, they overachieve, and they start looking more like the Sharks that we know that they can be, and it just never happened. So, and then with, again, Couture going down, I just don't see them overachieving at this point.
Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, I think we're going to cover this a lot in our episode that we're going to record tonight, too. That'll be coming out this week. So we'll talk about kind of what I think we're going to kind of do our own thing, who you want to trade, who I'd want to trade, that kind of thing. Who's the untouchable guys?
So Aaron told me about, like, hey, why don't we do a segment based on, like, the whole trading aspect. If we're blowing the team up, what are we going to do, right? And I think we might have touched on that actually a little bit in the last episode anyway, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into it. Which teams would be looking for what type of player, and we have that type of player and whatever else. I think Aaron is thinking about going more into who's going to get traded to which team and what we're going to get back. Like, what's that player worth, right? What's that asset worth? I was more for me, people value different players and different picks, totally differently. So I wasn't even going to go there. I was just going to say this player is a fit for these teams for these reasons. And I think, like I said, you might go a little bit deeper than that. So maybe we'll change up how we do it. Maybe we'll kind of agree on certain things. We'll set it up that way, and then you can say what they might bring back. I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be tough. So we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know how you say his name, but I'm not a Jones hater. He wrote heater. And I really like Jones, but I had a thought. What if we traded Dell at the deadline if there are any takers, then trade Jones in the offseason and sign Holtby?
Yeah.
That's a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
I think Jones is going to be on the team for a while. Nobody's going to want that contract. The only way they're going to get out of it is they buy him out, which isn't very realistic because that keeps him on the books even longer, and their cap hit is even longer. So I was actually going back and forth with someone on Twitter yesterday or 2 days ago about this. He was talking about it, and I said, there's a chance that Seattle could take him in the draft. And why would Seattle take him in the draft? Because Seattle, like, if you look at when Vegas came on, right?
Floor.
There's a floor. There is a floor. So when the ceiling goes up, the floor goes up. And it's hard when there's only so many guys that are exposed by other teams, which ones to pick and choose from. Right. You're not getting a lot of high-end salary guys. And if you are, they're not very good. So Jones is still a serviceable, good goalie who could be maybe a backup there.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have a high-end prospect or something that they get that they want. He's not ready for like a full-on starter yet. So plus the Sharks could trade something to Seattle to say, hey, take Jones off of our hands, or maybe even take a bad contract back or something,
Yeah.
So it's not that Jones is unmovable. I still think that might be in play a little bit, the Seattle possibility. But signing Holtby and doing that's a lot of what ifs, and there's not a lot of salary to go around for that either.
Well, and the other thing is, okay, let's say you do sign Holtby. First of all, Holtby's going to cost a ton, and then you don't really have the cap space, like at least right now. You clear up some, yes, but you also have to backfill the players that are leaving. So if you want to be at all competitive, you're going to have to pay some new players to step in and take those spots, and that's going to cost you money as well. So I don't think Holtby is the answer there. I think what's going to happen is you're going to have Dell probably get moved at the deadline, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. You're probably going to have one of the AHL guys step up and step in. The next season, I feel like it's going to be Jones and one of our prospects.
Yeah.
As the 1-2. And then yes, in Seattle or whoever might end up taking him, okay, great. Otherwise, I don't like the idea of a buyout. I just really don't. Again, it puts him on the books for for years, and it's a small amount, yes, but still, I just don't like the idea that you've got to pay for a player that's not actually on your roster. I like the whole Paul Martin thing, same thing. I didn't like that we've got another million or whatever it was that was on the books there.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have that freed up to give a run at somebody else maybe.
I mean, last summer, who was the big sexy goalie name last summer?
Bobrovsky.
$10
million.
That's kind of where Holtby's going to be. Holtby's a proven winner. He's won a cup and won multiple rounds of playoffs, whereas Bobrovsky's won once.
Right.
But that's $10 million. How's Bobrovsky doing this year?
Right.
His numbers are the same as Jones right now.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Well, and that was my second point. Thank you for bringing that up. Was you'd almost be burning it having Holtby on your team because okay, you use up the cap to get Holtby. Great, now you have a great goalie. You still don't have the forward depth, right? And you still have the same deficiencies on defense except without Brendan Dillon now. So then you've got to backfill him with who? Dalton Prout, right? If you give him another one of your or a guy like Dalton Prout, right? So I still think you have the same deficiencies, and that would actually be interesting to see because then, if the defense hasn't gotten any better, then it's like, okay, does having Holtby out there really help? Like, yes, he'll make a couple more saves on goals that maybe Jones would let in, but would we have still won that or lost that game, or would we have won that game because he made a save or two, right? So that would actually be interesting to check out. But I feel like you'd be burning, having Holtby on your team because your team's not ready to have a solid goaltender. They don't have the forward depth. They don't have the scoring right now. And like I said, the blue line is very offensive, but we still need to work on that team defense aspect. So I'm not sure that signing Holtby would be the brightest thing.
Georgiev was also thrown, or Georgiev. I forgot you say it. Georgiev.
The backup in New York.
He's thrown in there again, and we talked about this the last show. He's exactly what Martin Jones was when we got Martin Jones.
He was the guy that was ready to step into the NHL playing backup to another guy who's a stud.
Unproven.
Right.
Like a very small sample size. Looks good, looks athletic, but Jones is the exact same person, and he was good for a couple years and then just kind of has been tailing off.
Yeah.
So,
what's hilarious too is after that season, the run to the Cup, everyone was fine with the contract. Everyone was fine with that money, right?
It's not. I didn't even think it was that much.
It's not that much. It's really not that much. Yeah. It's not bad. And then of course things kind of taper off, and then all of a sudden it was the worst contract. You should have never signed it. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, guys. Okay, if you can't pay a guy for what his performance is like currently, you pay him for what their performance has shown. Over that amount of time that you've had him, or that you've seen him in the past, or whatever the case may be. That's what you're paying him for. So if you could get paid for what they're actually playing like with their numbers, yeah, they'd probably be getting paid less. But at the time, every single person that's in there saying Martin Jones is no good and he sucks, it was a bad contract, they were totally happy with him when we went to the Cup final in 2016.
Georgiev, yeah.
That's
what someone said in there.
Yeah.
That's what Mad Cow said. If Jones stays number one, this team is in some serious trouble. From Mikhail. Yeah.
Again, for me, it's not just the goalie. I'm sorry.
I know.
It is not just you grab Holtby, throw him in there. It doesn't matter. If you have guys that are allowing cross creasers all the time, if you have guys that are not pushing people out of the middle, allowing rebound chances like that, if you have guys that are allowing breakaways all day long, 2-on-1s all day long, 3-on-1s, guys, this is not something that you look to your goaltender and say, how come you didn't stop every single one of those? And to be fair, take a look at some of the replays and the highlight films. Dell, for instance, the last game, Dell made a bunch of good saves. He made a ton of good saves. They still lost that game. And then part of it was because they didn't score goals, yes, but the other part was he can only make so many highlight reel saves in a game. Like, he made like 3 or 4 or 5 of them. Like, after that, like, anything else you get is just bonus. So, I don't know, for me, I take a look at some of the goals that go in and I go, like, that. How many more times do you need him to stand on his head? How many more times does he have to do a bicycle kick to try to get the puck? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of ridiculous how much pressure gets put on the goaltenders for stopping the puck when there's a whole team around you that's supposed to limit their ability to get a puck in the net behind you. Like there's a whole unit that's dedicated to a zone to stopping them from getting a good chance. Like, why are we only looking at the goaltenders? That's what I don't get. And again, I don't love Jones. I don't love Dell. There's no goaltender in this league that I just love more than anything else, and I'll stick up for them regardless, just because they're on my team. I just look at the plays and I go, how can we possibly keep saying the goaltending is the issue every single time when, again, there are 5 guys on the ice that are dedicated to not allowing the other 5 guys on the ice get really good chances all the time. And it happens all the time with the Sharks. Honestly, the goaltenders are like the scapegoats, in my opinion. Like
next year's team is going to look a lot different, and there's going to be a lot of signings, I think, UFA signings this summer, not current Sharks players. I mean, you have Melker coming off, that's $2 million.
Yeah.
Jumbo's coming off, that's $2 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 right there.
Dylan's
3.2.
Right.
Who's the other one? Dell's another 1.9.
Okay.
And that's pretty good.
That's $9 million.
Now I'm saying if they trade Burns, and I'm saying in the offseason, I don't think that's going to happen at the deadline, but you trade Burns in the offseason, that's another $8 million off the books.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Now you have a huge.
Yeah.
I mean, just making, that's one trade. One trade and not signing the guys that are expiring.
Yeah.
The team's going to look different, but there's also going to be way more depth next year at forward, I think. I think that was kind of Wilson's plan all along. Like, he knew this year he was kind of super crunched. And he's like, okay, we're just going to hang in there and see what we got. I think we have enough pieces to make playoffs.
Yep.
I don't know about winning a cup, but if we have guys that can come up and fill in those roles and play well and gel as a team, and we need those players to do well, and some other guys to step up and take a bigger role anyway, like LeBanc and Meyer, then great, the Sharks are going to look good, and then next year it's going to be even better. Obviously it didn't happen. So I think that was kind of the overall picture, the big picture look from the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and that's honestly, that's kind of how I felt was, okay, we give Erik Karlsson this big contract to choose up all our cap, and we know we can't really get the reinforcements that we need to backfill the guys that left at forward position. But there should be enough firepower and enough offense with the blue line is what was it? How many millions of dollars on the blue line again? 20
on the blue line
20 something,
right now,
30 something.
30.
Yeah, $30 million on the blue line. I mean,
It's 32.
Essentially, yeah, the blue line should, help carry the offense, and that again just didn't happen. But I feel like that's what this season was more about. It was about get the piece that you feel you're going to need, which is Erik Karlsson, for the longer term. And then hopefully, everything else kind of pans out. We can make playoffs. That'll be great. But I don't feel like he was really honed in on this season and on purpose. I think that he was just hoping that the young guys would step in and just be good enough. That's it. Be good enough. I think he really had eyes on the prize for seasons coming. So I think he's basically setting us up for seasons to come because the cap's going to go up. The new TV deal, Seattle, the cap should increase, greatly. In which case, that $11.5 million isn't going to look nearly as bad. It's kind of going to take up the same percentage of cap that it does right now.
Yep.
We'll have the ability to sign bigger names at forward, and that'll help us out in terms of the depth. So I think this was, again, this season, not that he was burning it, not that he was throwing it away, but I think he knew this season that we weren't going to be as competitive as last. I just feel like he also thought that we were going to be good enough to make playoffs. And we should have been. I don't know what happened. But I definitely think he was looking toward the future.
Thanks, Lundy, for...
Sorry, which, by the way, before you get there, which might be why Hasso-Plattner has confidence in Doug Wilson, because Hasso probably already knew that this season wasn't going to be the all-in season that it was, last time around. It wasn't going to be that. I think he already knew that. I think he knew Doug Wilson's plan.
I think last year was kind of an all-in.
No, it was.
It was Carlson,
for sure.
They went at the trade deadline and got
Nyquist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for sure that was all in. And I think Hasso understood that this season wasn't going to be that, but that Doug Wilson was setting us up for future seasons. So while we should have been more competitive, and that's why he's disappointed, that's why I think Doug Wilson's job is safe, is because Hasso kind of already understood and knew that. That it wasn't all about this season, that we weren't going for it all necessarily this season. So anyway, just wanted to put that there.
Let's do roll call. Tell us where you're watching from and how you found us.
And you said somebody's saying thank you to somebody just now. Who was it?
Lundy said roll call.
Lundy. Oh, okay.
He just said roll call.
There you go.
Like we should do it.
Is that at Bood?
Oh, it's Lundy.
No, the comment on that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Why? You know.
No, he plays NHL.
Oh,
George Chell.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We won't be playing tonight, or I don't know if you will be.
I might. I don't know.
We're gonna record an episode
Yeah.
after this, so we're gonna be up super late.
Yes. Super producer Jason is super excited.
They're talking about bad contracts and stuff. Alec Vincent, all big goalie contracts, Price, Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, are now all considered bad contracts. Giving something to Holtby would be suicide.
Again, hindsight is 2020, right? I mean,
Right.
if you gave Carey Price that money and Carey Price had a good team around him, then yeah, that contract looks great because Carey Price is stopping everything because the defense is doing a good job of keeping the pucks to the outside, clearing it, blah, 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 blah. If you put Carey Price, is Carey Price that bad right now? Is that why Montreal's terrible? Is he that bad? I mean, I don't think that's the answer. I think Montreal is terrible as a unit. And Carey Price, you know, when the pucks go in, I wonder, do the Montreal fans blame Carey Price for every puck that goes in?
Yeah.
Right? If we had Carey Price, would we be the top of the standings right now? Can we lay it all on the feet of Jones and Dell then? I just don't buy that. I'm sorry. I don't buy that. That's me. I don't buy that. I'm passionate too.
A little bit, huh? Zach Croft, Plattner will never fire Doug Wilson. Those two were like mustard and ketchup. Yeah, that's what I think. We talked about that the last show.
He's a hands-off owner.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, there's a couple types of owners in all of sports, not just hockey. But
Yeah.
all of sports. This is basically, these are all the billionaires that their teams are just their hobbies. There's not meant to make money.
Right.
They're not in it to make money. If they are, they're in the wrong business, and they shouldn't be a billionaire in the first place. I think I can go into some other examples, but Hasselplattner, like, yeah, this is cool. I own the San Jose Sharks. He lives in Germany. He's from Germany. He runs SAP. He's the CEO of SAP. So he's a very busy man doing a very large multinational corporation. So this is totally his hobby, and he hands it off to Doug Wilson and a couple other people. Becker now. Becker is just named sole president. Tortora is stepping down, and he's going to be there for a little bit doing consulting stuff, but he'll be out, I think, at the end of the year, end of the season, but the end of the season. But anyway, I think he has it in good hands, and so he trusts Doug Wilson a lot, and the whole team, not just Doug Wilson. So
rightfully so. I know so many people are down on Doug Wilson, but I mean, rightfully so. This guy's put together really good teams. He's a wizard when it comes to trades and whatnot. I mean, I think. So, I mean, I don't know. I understand that there's a lot of frustration with the way that this season's gone, but guys, we've gone to the playoffs like, what was it, 14 out of 15 seasons? Something to that effect. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of times that we've had a team that was capable enough to make playoffs. And I think there was people talking on Twitter, I would much rather have a team that's constantly in playoffs than a team who is constantly trying to rebuild and find, you know, that right crop of players, and it's just boring hockey for like 6 years, and then all of a sudden they're good, and then, you know, think of Edmonton, right? Think of Edmonton. Would you rather be Edmonton? Would
poorly run.
No, but would you rather be Edmonton? Would you rather get first overall pick after first overall pick with this idea that, oh, we're going to be such a great team? Or would you, and then nothing ever happens? Or would you rather make the playoffs every single season and have a shot, have a chance at least of getting a cup?
Edmonton, to me, is a team that is run to be a business and to make money because they don't care about winning, because it's so poorly run with their player management. Obviously, they haven't been able to put together a team that can, a roster, right?
Yeah.
All they care about is selling tickets. They got a new arena, which is what they were fighting for. McDavid was there, I think, right before they got the new arena, so that helps sell tickets. They sell out regardless if they win or lose. What do they care?
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't matter. And now they're kind of getting fed up because they're like, oh, we're not making playoffs. I mean, they're in a playoff hunt now, but they don't make playoffs for another season or two. They're going to revolt at some point. But you still have McDavid every night. That's such a hot ticket.
Yeah.
He's such a great player. Like, any night you can go, you're going to see greatness because he's a elite player. So they hit a gold mine with that.
And we're not even talking about Draisaitl either. I mean, Draisaitl's phenomenal alongside him too. So
I think they kind of got lucky. He went third overall.
Yeah.
But I mean, not that was a low draft pick.
Right.
Third overall is still pretty good. But arguably could have been the first overall pick in that draft.
Totally. Yeah.
So, I think they kind of got a little lucky on that.
Mm-hmm.
As lucky as you can get with a third overall pick. But to me, Edmonton, I don't think they're going to... They're running a business. Whereas the Sharks are running a business to the point of they want to be they're entertainers. They're entertainers. It's not just about winning a cup. There's 30 teams that don't win a cup every year now.
Right.
About to be 31. So if that were the case, if it was just for a cup, then nobody would be in business. So they have to they put a product out there and they have to sell tickets to the masses and entertain people. So it's a multifaceted kind of business, I guess you can call it. Yeah. Anyway, there's a nice tangent for you.
Okay.
Cool. Get on with it, huh? Here's an interesting comment from Alec Vincent. He says, "I'm from Montreal. This is about Carey Price. Half the fans want to throw him in the garbage, and the other half would let him carry their babies. It's kind of odd."
Okay. There you go.
Yep.
But you see what I'm saying, though, right? Like you said, half the fans want to throw him to go. Like, is he that bad all of a sudden? Did he just take a dive? Like, is the skill set just not there, or is it just that all of a sudden Montreal is, their good players have gone away and they don't really have. I mean, ever since what's his name, Pacioretty, have they been good since Pacioretty left?
They've been mediocre.
Yeah. So
That's what I'd say.
I don't know. I just have a hard time with Carey Price. All of a sudden he's terrible. I just have a hard time with that. I don't know.
Are we still a Shark show?
We are, but we're talking about trade deadline stuff and relating this to Sharks goaltenders and just hockey in general. So I think it's still relevant.
Illuminato, it would be pretty great to get a player like McDavid. It would, but it would be very painful to get there.
Yeah,
you'd have to really tank.
Yeah,
and you still have to win the lottery.
Yep. Think how bad Edmonton's been for how long. Like, do you want to go through that? I don't want to go through that, because then someone's going to come back, I guarantee you. Someone will come back with, yeah, I'd do that if it guarantees me a cup. The problem is it doesn't guarantee you anything. Like, yes, if you were guaranteed a cup, sure, do whatever it takes, fine. But there is no guarantee. And Edmonton's finding that out. I mean, between, Hall, Nugent-Hopkins, Eberle, Nail Yakupov.
Yeah.
Then you've got McDavid finally, Leon Draisaitl, right? And even then, they made playoffs once and they missed the next year.
They follow the blueprint of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh, if you don't know or don't remember, Pittsburgh was about to sell their team and move out of Pittsburgh. And I don't know where they were going to go, but...
Lemieux saved him, right?
Well, Lemieux came in, but they got the draft lottery pick and got Crosby. If they didn't get Crosby, their team was gone because nobody was going to those games. They had a very rundown arena, the Igloo, I think is what it's called. Yeah. Pittsburgh was very close to being shipped out of the Penguins were being shipped out of Pittsburgh. So that's
Pittsburgh
how much
was going to be shipped out of Pittsburgh.
That's
it
how
was
much
that bad. The city was going to pack up and move.
That's how much a first overall generational talent player could save your team or save the whole franchise. So, I mean, he came out of retirement. Lemieux came out of retirement to play with Crosby. So it was very odd because he was the owner. Was he? He wasn't the GM.
Player owner. He was the player owner.
Player owner. And he was also housing Crosby his first year. So he was living in Lemieux's house.
Player owner landlord.
Yeah. This is nuts. Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, for me again, I would rather have a team that is constantly, even if you're the 8th seed, I'd rather have a team that's constantly in the hunt, and Doug Wilson's done that, as opposed to be a team that's, tank, get the first overall. Great, we did. And it doesn't necessarily mean anything. It really doesn't necessarily mean anything, and Edmonton is a perfect example of that. Yes, it has a lot to come down to how the team is run, sure, but at the end of the day, the games are won and lost with players on the ice, and even with McDavid, and even with Draisaitl backing him up, like they've gone to the playoffs just that one year in the past 8, 9.
They beat the Sharks that year
sure,
because the Sharks had Couture was injured. I think.
And then what happened?
Then they didn't make playoffs.
And then what happened? Exactly, right? So it's I don't know.
What was I just gonna say? Dang it! I lost my train of thought now. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Any other comments or questions?
There's so many comments going on right now. It's great.
Is anybody hating on me right now? I just want to know.
Well, everyone hates on you.
All right,
but
good.
no. Nobody's written anything.
Oh.
I just know. I just know. When's the last time Edmonton has won a cup? Was it before or after? It was 1986 or 87, I think. No, 89, 90. Well, the last Canadian team was the Canadians in 94, 93.
Nah, I don't know.
93.
Doesn't matter.
We're a shark show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sure. What people are asking.
You're. Oh wait. You have a computer, obviously, because you're typing to us. You just pull up a page and.
Shark
There
show
you
with
go.
severe ADD. Hey, look, a chicken.
What?
Squirrel.
You want to see Paul's shoes?
Yeah, you do. Your DCs. They're dirty now. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Let me get. Oh, over here.
DS
Over here.
for dash.
No, don't move
shoes.
it. I'm over here. See. This is what we've gone. This is what we've come to. Just looking at shoes, panning back and forth now. It's gone off
they
the
won.
rails.
They won in 1990. They beat Boston. Cool.
Awesome. Is there anything else they want?
You the man, Paul. It's from Zach.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it, bud.
All right, I think we're gonna be done. It's coming
Why?
up to the
It's
end of
going
the
so
hour.
well.
It's definitely come off the rails. It's definitely.
They want to see Paul's toes now.
Oh.
Oh.
It's not that kind of show, guys. It's not that kind of show.
Paul-
Come back for the midnight showing.
Angelo.
It'll be that kind of show.
Paul, please shave.
Yeah, I know.
He actually shaved this
I
morning.
know.
That's how fast his beard grows. It's disgusting.
No, I know. I was gonna actually shave, but I didn't get around to it. So sorry. Is it that bad though? Doesn't look that bad, does
Phil
it?
Martins. I live in Edmonton and I'm a huge Sharks fan.
Oh,
In the past 10 years, the Oilers have had 4 number 1 picks, a 3rd, a 4th, a 7th, an 8th, a 10th, and a 22nd. They are the Cleveland Browns of the NHL. See, we can be like that, right? I know what I was going to say.
and
Go ahead.
how well has that worked out for them, right? That's what I mean.
So I think for the rest of this season, the Sharks are going to play hard and get points.
Yeah.
They don't want to tank. They don't want to tank because they don't have their first round pick. But they're going to try and mitigate the damage of not having that first round pick by
Yes.
trying to finish as high to that 14th.
15th, 14th,
Right.
yeah, exactly, right up against it, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I think that's what they're going to try and do. I wouldn't feel so bad if it wasn't less than, if it was not as good as a top 10 pick. Like
Yeah.
if it was like around 12, 13, 14, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be so mad. I mean, it still sucks not having a first round pick in a very deep draft year, but
Yeah.
still could be worse.
You know what though? Again, here's what it comes down to: would you rather have that player? It's a deep draft, yes. Would you rather have that player or the known quantity, if you will? I don't know, the known player in Erik Karlsson. Like, to me, I would rather have I know this guy is a superstar, right? Say what you want about his defensive deficiencies, fine. But the guy knows how to set people up. He's amazing with the puck. You get the puck on a stick, and I mean, I've seen him way too many times just dangle someone out of their shorts because they're trying to get a step on him, get a stick in there, and he just sleds it around him. I've seen him way too many times do fantastic things with the puck. You cannot tell me that he is not supremely talented, because the man is. So would you rather have the unknown in a draft pick, in a deep draft, yes, or the superstar? Because the draft pick might turn into the superstar. Might.
Depends on where you're drafting.
Yeah, it does. But I think if
If you have a top 3 pick,
yeah,
I
no,
want
that's
the top
different.
3
That's
pick.
different. That's different.
If you're in 10, 12 spot, nah.
Yeah, 10, 12, definitely. I would take the known. I would take the known.
Yep.
But even then, the first through third, that you're talking like that. That's not going to be another McDavid,
No.
right?
That's like once a decade.
No, exactly.
But,
You see that, and that's the thing I think people think sometimes. They go, oh, McDavid, Austin Matthews, and they think, oh, these are the types of guys that you get. Yeah, for that generation, for that year.
I still don't
yes,
even think
but,
Austin Matthews isn't even on the same plateau as McDavid.
Oh, no one's on the same plateau
Yeah.
as McDavid. That's not fair compare. But that's my point,
Yeah.
is that just because it's a number one doesn't mean you're going to get a McDavid every single time it's a number one, right? So, again, he could turn out to be something great. I wonder how many first through third overall picks didn't make it to the NHL, for longer than like 100 games. So that, for
Yep.
me, again, I understand what Doug Wilson does when he trades away a pick and gets a player because of he knows how good that player is, period. I don't have to worry about if this guy's going to develop or draft or have a problem. That's why it was a risk taking Ryan Merkley with the pick that they did, because you don't know if he's going to pan out to be an NHL player or not. If he does, hey, that's awesome. But you have a known good in Erik Karlsson, right? So I can understand why giving up that first, especially when you're under the impression that you're probably going to be making playoffs. I can understand how that, that train of thought would come to mind for him. So, I mean, again, for me, I like the idea of trade away the unknown for the thing that I know that I want.
Right. Zach has a good question here. Can we talk about contracts in the NHL? Do you guys like 8-year long-term contracts?
No.
I don't like them, but I also don't like limiting the GMs in doing what they want because they're digging their own graves.
Yeah.
To me, look at LA is the perfect example of a team that wins a cup, and you feel obligated to give these guys big contracts because they won you 2 cups in 3 years, I think it was. So now they're going to be stuck for another couple years, and Drew Doughty's basically wasting away his almost prime years being surrounded by nothing down there, and he can only do so much. So I think I don't like to limit it. I think it was silly that they were signing 15-year contracts. I think you should be able to limit. Maybe you can only go into the year 40. So if you want to sign a 20-year-old to a 20-year contract, that's the max. If you have a 34-year-old and you want to give him a 10-year contract, you can't. It stops at 40. That makes sense? Okay. Then after that, it's a 1-year contract for anyone over 40. That way they're not stuck. I don't know. I just think that's kind of a way to work around it. And I think that's going to be, it'll probably get tweaked in the next CBA agreement when that finally comes through and gets talked about. But
I just don't like the idea that you believe that you know where a player's going to be in 8 years, right? I mean, they can be great for you for a couple, and then all of a sudden just off a cliff. And players know this. They use this to their advantage, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go somewhere else if you don't sign me to 8-year contract. Like, I want the term, right? So then you have teams that, out of fear, commit to these players for 8 years because they don't want to lose that player, for the shorter term, right? Hey, we're competitive right now. We need this player. If we can keep him, even just a couple of years, we might win a cup in the next couple of years. Well, beyond that, who knows what's going to happen with your team? And now you've got this guy who's on your team for the next 6 years beyond that. So I don't know. To me, it's just weird. Like, I don't like that. Essentially they kind of get pushed into doing these long-term contracts out of fear of losing the player, and the players know exactly what they're doing. They're doing
part of it's the agents and the players, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
The players are most not all players are gonna be like, I don't want to think about contract, get it done to their agent, and they're just gonna try and get the longest term and the longest amount of money possible, which is because they get a fee out of that.
Of course,
they get a percentage, so of course they want to jack those prices up. So I think. They probably ask the player, hey, do you want to do the max? Of course. Almost every player is going to want to do the max. Yeah. I think the right approach, I don't think you should limit it. I think you can do what they want. But I think the right approach to me, if I was a GM, I like doing 3 to 4 year contracts. I think that's about right. Every 3 years, you kind of reevaluate where you are, and maybe you get a pay raise, maybe you get a pay decrease, and then it also doesn't hamper your team.
Yeah,
especially with all these no trade contracts, no trade clauses. I don't really like so many no trade clauses. I think maybe you only give those out to people over 30 or something.
But again, that's out of fear of losing that player. Right?
No, I get it.
Give me my no trade clause, or I'll go somewhere else. Right? So okay, fine, I'll give you a no trade clause. So I don't know. Again, for me, like. I just don't, and I understand. A player is going to say, give me 8 years. Not just the agent, the player is going to say that. Why? Because if he gets, if he kind of falls off a cliff a bit, then he still has his, monetary security, for his family. Like, I get that. You don't want to have like a 2-year contract, then you get hurt and no one signs you, because that's your livelihood. It's all gone now, right? So like, I get that, but at the same time. I don't know. I just don't like that. Basically, the teams get kind of bullied sometimes by the players into signing these ridiculously long-term deals.
There was a website I can't remember if I think I sent it to you guys on Slack a long time ago, where it calculates a player's salary. So like we'll take Karlsson for instance, 11.5 million. It tells you how much he has to pay in tax, how much he has to pay his agent, how much he has to basically. what he gets after all of
It's
his
like half.
expenses, it's less than half.
Yeah.
So 11. I mean, I'm not sure he's not complaining. He's probably getting $4 or $5 million actual money a year. But think about that. Like, 11 million gets cut in half, right? You're getting $5 million. Then if you have a $6 million contract, cut that in half. That's $3 million. That's only a $2 million difference, even though the contracts are vastly different. So, I don't know. People they think of it as like super greedy and all that. It was him and his agent getting the best deal that he could. Right. All right. So, Anthony Sanchez. My wife doesn't like the suggestion of trading Burns. Sorry. To me, that still makes sense. All right. So I think we're going to call it. I think we're at an hour, and he's dying over here. So let's end the show, and we're going to record. We're going to take a break and then record our episode, which will be out this week by tomorrow morning. Right, Jay? I think he's asleep.
An expletive?
No.
Okay. So, thanks for tuning in. I'm having a hard time talking.
Thanks for tuning in. And be sure to catch our episode this week. We're probably going to be talking about a lot of stuff that we talked about here with less coughing and more graphics, maybe.
I think more coughing. Let's just
More
cough
coughing?
the whole episode.
Perfect. We'll blow out your
Be great.
speakers with it. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. And we appreciate it. It's been a while. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Good to be back. No, that's it. Check out the store.
Sure. Check
That's
out
all.
the store.
You guys know.
Thanks.
Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm just gonna hold it on you guys now. Let you suffer.